Have you ever noticed something about yourself and then you could not stop noticing it? Maybe you saw a bad habit, a fear, or a painful memory, and suddenly it was everywhere in your mind. This is one of the strangest parts of being human. The more we understand our own minds, the heavier our minds can feel. Today we are going to explore this idea together, slowly and clearly, using simple English. You will learn new words, you will learn about your own mind, and you will feel calmer by the end of this video. So relax, breathe, and let's begin this journey together. Many people believe that if they understand themselves better, life will automatically become easier. They think, if I know why I feel this way, the pain will disappear. But sometimes the opposite happens. Sometimes understanding your own patterns, your own fears, and your own past can feel heavy, not light. This experience has a name in psychology. It is sometimes called the burden of awareness, and today we will learn what it means, why it happens, and how you can carry this awareness without letting it break you. This is not a video about being sad. This is a video about being honest, and then finding a path forward. Let's take this step by step together in clear and simple English. Let's start with a simple question. What does it actually mean when we say someone is aware? To be aware means to notice something clearly, often for the first time. Awareness is not just information. It is a feeling of seeing something that was always there but hidden. For example, imagine a person who always felt tired around their family but never asked why. One day they realize, I feel tired because I am afraid to disappoint them. That moment is called insight. An insight is a sudden, clear understanding of something true about yourself or your life. Before this insight, the person felt tired but confused. After the insight, the tiredness has a reason. This can feel like relief at first, but it can also feel like a weight, because now the person cannot pretend anymore. They cannot go back to not knowing. This is the beginning of our topic today, and I want you to remember this simple idea. Awareness always changes something inside you. It never leaves you exactly the same. Psychologists often talk about a related idea called self-reflection. Self-reflection means thinking carefully about your own thoughts, feelings, and behavior. It is a very healthy skill, and many therapists encourage it. However, researchers have also found something interesting. Too much self-reflection without action can sometimes increase worry instead of reducing it. This is not true for everyone. Some people reflect deeply and feel more peaceful. Others reflect deeply and feel more anxious. There is no single rule for every person, because every mind works differently. What we do know from psychological research is that awareness by itself is not automatically healing. Awareness is only the first step. What we do after we notice something, that is often what truly matters. So here is a question for you to think about quietly. Is there something in your life that you have become more aware of recently? A pattern, a fear, a feeling that feels heavier now that you have noticed it? Now let's go a little deeper. Why does truth sometimes hurt more than not knowing? In psychology, there is a concept called cognitive dissonance. Cognitive dissonance. This happens when a person holds two beliefs, or a belief and an action that do not match each other, and it creates uncomfortable tension inside the mind. For example, imagine someone who believes, I am a strong and independent person, but they also notice, I stay in situations that hurt me because I am afraid of being alone. These two ideas do not fit together easily. When awareness reveals this gap, the mind can feel confused, uncomfortable, even ashamed. This discomfort is not a sign that something is wrong with the person. It is simply a natural psychological reaction to conflict inside the mind. Many people, without realizing it, spend years avoiding certain truths because the truth creates this dissonance. This is sometimes explained through the idea of defense mechanisms. Defense mechanisms are mental strategies, often unconscious, that protect a person from painful emotions. One common defense mechanism is called denial. Denial means refusing to accept a painful reality, even when evidence is clear. Another is called avoidance. Avoidance means staying away from thoughts, situations, or people that create emotional discomfort. These are not signs of weakness. Sigmund Freud first introduced many of these ideas, and later psychologists like Anna Freud expanded on them. Today, many researchers see defense mechanisms as normal human tools, not flaws. However, when awareness breaks through these defenses, and a person suddenly sees the truth they were avoiding, the emotional impact can feel very strong, very fast. This is one reason why growth often feels uncomfortable before it feels good. Pain is not punishment. It is simply your mind adjusting to new information. And here is something important to remember. Feeling emotional pain after gaining insight does not mean the insight was wrong. It often means the insight was real. Take a slow moment now and ask yourself, have you ever discovered a truth about yourself that was uncomfortable at first, but later helped you grow? Let's continue with our third idea today. Many people, especially as they grow older or go through therapy, self-help, or deep reflection, begin to notice patterns. Patterns. A pattern is a behavior, a thought, or a reaction that repeats itself again and again in someone's life. For example, a person might notice, I always choose partners who do not truly value me, or I always work too hard because I fear being seen as lazy. Noticing a pattern for the first time can feel like turning on a bright light in a dark room. Suddenly, you can see clearly, but bright light can also feel harsh, especially after living so long in comfortable darkness. This experience connects to what psychologists sometimes call meta-awareness. Meta-awareness. Meta-awareness means being aware of your own awareness, noticing that you are noticing. It is a very advanced mental skill, and it is deeply connected to mindfulness practices, which have strong scientific support for improving emotional regulation. However, meta-awareness is a double-edged tool. On one side, it gives you the power to observe your emotions without being completely controlled by them. On the other hand, it can make you feel like you can never simply not think about something anymore. Once you see a pattern, you often cannot unsee it. You notice it in conversations, in relationships, in quiet moments before sleep. This is what many people describe as the burden of awareness, not the pain of not knowing, but the tiredness of always knowing. It is important to say clearly, this experience is not unusual, and it does not mean something is wrong with you. Many people who grow emotionally, who read, who reflect, who go to therapy, describe this same feeling. Awareness can feel isolating sometimes because not everyone around you is seeing what you are seeing. But this heaviness is often temporary. It is often a stage, not a permanent home. In the next part of this lesson, we will learn how people move through this heaviness instead of staying stuck in it. Before we continue, ask yourself gently, is there a pattern in your life that you have started to notice clearly, maybe for the first time? Let's move forward now and let's talk about something very important, the line between healthy awareness and unhealthy obsession. This is a subtle line, and many learners of psychology and many people simply living their lives find it confusing. To be aware of a problem is helpful. It gives you information. It gives you choice. But when awareness turns into constant, repeated circular thinking, without any new insight or action, psychologists often call this rumination. Rumination. Rumination means thinking about the same negative thought again and again, without moving forward, almost like walking in a circle instead of walking on a path. Research in cognitive psychology has shown that rumination is strongly connected to increased anxiety and low mood in many people. This does not mean thinking deeply is bad. It means thinking without direction can trap the mind. Here is a simple way to understand the difference. Awareness asks a question and moves toward an answer. Rumination asks the same question again and again without ever truly answering it. For example, awareness might sound like this: I notice I get anxious before meetings. I wonder if it's because I fear judgment. Rumination might sound like this: why am I like this? Why can't I be normal? What is wrong with me? Repeated many times with no new understanding, only emotional pain. Do you see the difference? One is curious, the other is punishment. One opens a door, the other closes it and stands in front of it. Many psychologists, including researchers who study cognitive behavioral therapy, often shortened as CBT, suggest that awareness becomes helpful only when it is paired with gentle action or gentle acceptance. Simply repeating painful thoughts without kindness often increases suffering rather than reducing it. This is why some people who know a lot about their own problems still feel stuck. Knowing is not the same as healing. Knowing is the beginning of the road, not the destination. If you have ever felt frustrated because you understand your problems deeply, but nothing seems to change, please hear this clearly. You are not failing. You may simply be standing at the door of awareness without yet finding the next step, which is transformation through small, consistent action. So take a quiet moment and ask yourself honestly, when you think about your own struggles, do your thoughts usually move forward toward understanding, or do they often circle back to the same painful place? Now let's talk about something that surprises many people. Often, the individuals who are the most emotionally aware, the most reflective, the most sensitive to patterns in themselves and others, are also the ones who feel the most emotionally tired. Why does this happen? One possible explanation involves a concept called emotional labor. Emotional labor. Emotional labor refers to the mental and emotional energy a person spends managing their own feelings, and sometimes the feelings of people around them. Highly aware people often notice more tension in a room, more unspoken pain in a friend's voice, more subtle patterns in their own reactions. Noticing more requires energy. Processing more requires energy. Over time, without proper rest and support, this can lead to a state that researchers sometimes describe using the term compassion fatigue, especially among caregivers, therapists, and deeply empathetic individuals. Compassion fatigue. It is important to say clearly here, awareness itself is not the enemy. Tiredness does not mean you should try to know less, or feel less, or care less. Instead, psychological research increasingly points toward a different solution: emotional regulation paired with boundaries. Boundaries, a boundary in psychological terms, is a limit a person sets to protect their emotional or physical well-being. For example, a highly aware person might say, "I understand my friend is struggling, and I care deeply, but I also need quiet time to recover my own energy." This is not selfishness. This is sustainability. Many therapists explain that a person cannot pour support into others, or even into their own healing, from an empty source. Awareness without rest often leads to burnout, and burnout benefits no one, not you, and not the people you care about. There is also a gentler truth hidden inside this tiredness. The fact that you feel tired from awareness often means you are a person who cares deeply, who pays attention, who does not walk through life numb or careless. This is not a weakness. In many ways, it reflects emotional strength that has not yet learned how to rest. Strength without rest becomes exhaustion, but strength combined with rest becomes wisdom. This is the direction we are moving toward together in this lesson. Pause for a moment and reflect. Do you often feel emotionally tired after noticing, understanding, or caring deeply about something or someone? And if so, do you allow yourself proper rest afterward? How do we transform heavy awareness into something that supports us, instead of something that exhausts us? Psychologists who study resilience, the ability to recover from difficulty, often highlight a concept called cognitive reframing. Cognitive reframing. Reframing means looking at the same situation from a different angle without denying the truth, but changing the emotional meaning attached to it. For example, instead of thinking, "I know too much about my own problems and it hurts," a person might gently reframe this as, "I understand myself more than many people do, and this understanding gives me the power to change, even if change takes time." Notice that the facts have not changed. Only the emotional frame has changed. An emotional frame often changes emotional experience. Another helpful concept is self-compassion, a term widely studied by psychologist Kristin Neff. Self-compassion. Self-compassion means treating yourself with the same kindness, patience, and understanding that you would offer to a close friend who is struggling. Research suggests that self-compassion, unlike harsh self-criticism, is strongly associated with emotional resilience and lower levels of anxiety in many individuals. When awareness feels heavy, self-compassion acts like a soft place to rest. Instead of saying, "Why do I always notice these painful things about myself?" a person practicing self-compassion might say, "It makes sense that this feels heavy. I am learning something difficult, and I am allowed to go slowly." Finally, action, even very small action, plays a powerful role in transforming awareness into strength. Psychological research on behavioral activation, often used in treating low mood, shows that small, consistent actions can shift emotional states more effectively than thinking alone. Behavioral activation. This does not mean forcing yourself to fix everything immediately. It simply means taking one small, gentle step based on what you have become aware of. If you have noticed you avoid rest, perhaps you rest for 10 minutes today. If you have noticed a painful pattern in relationships, perhaps you speak honestly with one trusted person about it. Small steps do not erase awareness, but they turn awareness into forward movement, instead of a heavy weight sitting still in your mind. Ask yourself gently, what is one small, kind action you could take today, based on something you have recently become aware of about yourself? We have reached our final lesson today, and I want to bring everything together gently. Throughout this video, we have learned that awareness is powerful, but it is not always comfortable. We have learned that noticing patterns, understanding your own mind, and seeing painful truths can feel like a burden at first. But we have also learned something even more important. This burden is not permanent, and it is not a punishment. It is simply a stage in a much longer process of growth. Many people who feel emotionally tired from awareness are not broken. They are simply human beings who are paying attention, who are willing to look honestly at themselves, and who are still learning how to carry that honesty with gentleness. Living peacefully with what you know does not mean forgetting it, and it does not mean pretending everything is fine. Instead, psychologists often describe this as integration. Integration means allowing a truth to become a natural part of who you are, instead of something you constantly fight against or constantly analyze. For example, a person who once felt overwhelmed by the discovery, "I struggle with trusting others," may eventually reach a place where this truth simply becomes part of their story. They no longer feel shocked by it. They simply understand it, work with it, and continue moving forward. This shift from shock to acceptance often takes time. It is not something that happens in one day, one video, or one realization, and that is completely okay. I also want to remind you of something simple, but very important. Awareness, even when it feels heavy, is still a sign of life, of depth, and of care. People who never reflect, who never notice their patterns, often repeat painful cycles without ever understanding why. You are not one of those people. By watching this video, by thinking about these questions, by being honest with yourself, you are already doing something brave. Growth is rarely loud or dramatic. Most of the time, growth looks quiet. It looks like a person sitting calmly with a difficult thought, breathing slowly and choosing not to run away from it, but also not to be crushed by it. Ask yourself, if you could speak kindly to yourself right now about everything you have become aware of recently, what would you say? Let's slowly review what we have learned together today. We learned that awareness means noticing something clearly, and that this noticing can bring both insight and discomfort. We learned about cognitive dissonance, and how truth can feel painful when it conflicts with old beliefs. We explored defense mechanisms, like denial and avoidance, and understood that these are normal human responses to emotional pain. We talked about the difference between healthy awareness and rumination, and how thinking without direction can trap the mind instead of freeing it. We explored why deeply aware people often feel emotionally tired, connecting this to emotional labor and the importance of boundaries. And finally, we learned how cognitive reframing, self-compassion, and small behavioral action can transform heavy awareness into quiet, lasting strength. If there is one idea I hope you carry with you after this video, it is this: understanding yourself deeply is not a mistake, even when it feels heavy. The weight you feel is often proof that you are growing, not proof that something is wrong with you. Awareness is simply the beginning. What you do afterward with patience and self-kindness is what truly shapes your life. Thank you for spending this time with me today, learning English and learning about your own mind together. If this video helped you feel understood, even a little, please consider subscribing to this channel so we can continue this journey together, one calm and simple lesson at a time. And if you know someone who might need to hear this today, feel free to share this video with them. Take care of your mind, be gentle with yourself, and I will see you in the next lesson.